Hello guys, welcome to this series on the modeling of a diffuser. So we'll be modeling a scent diffuser, just like the diffuser I have at home. I think you guys have seen the picture of the diffuser on the opening screen of this tutorial. So we'll have a few parts to model. We'll model each and every part on a separate video. Unless we're dealing with smaller parts, maybe then I might have to model a few parts in a single video. Today we'll start working on the base of the diffuser. I think of all the parts that we'll be modeling in SolidWorks, it's the one which will take up quite a bit of some time. Not because it's so complex, but because I want to try to explain each and every step that I take in this tutorial. So let's go ahead. I'll click on the home icon. I'll click on the part. So here we are. This is the default interface for SolidWorks. As you've seen, I'm using SolidWorks 2022. We'll start our sketch on the top plane. So let's go ahead and click on the top plane. Then this quick menu pops up. I prefer using this quick menu. I prefer doing anything that saves me time in SolidWorks, in fact. So this quick menu somehow saves me time, because there's another way of doing it. Let me just deselect everything. So in SolidWorks, you just click on the white area here in the drawing area to deselect anything you might have selected either willingly or accidentally. So let me just select click anywhere on the white area. So maybe some of you would prefer to go on the top plane, right click and get this longer menu and start a sketch from there. But my way of doing it is I just go on the top plane, click, then this quick menu pops up and I select on the sketch. Okay, we're now in the sketching tab. We switched from the features tab to the sketching tab. I'll click on the circle. So every time you click on these sketch icons or default sketch shapes, you get this on the properties manager. For the circle, you have two types from which you can choose from. There is the perimeter circle, then there's this ordinary circle, which you start by selecting the center of the circle. I think for the most time you'll be using this first option over here. Maybe, I don't know, maybe in the coming tutorials I'll give you a scenario where you might want to use the perimeter circle. But let us go ahead and click on the origin, where there's an orange dot. Click on the origin, then stretch out or drag your mouse and click again. Have your circle. Then we'll go on the smart dimension, two-dimensional circle. So to work faster, once you're done with the command, you don't have to go and click on the green check mark to close the dialog. In this case, you can click on the green check mark to say you're done with the circle command. But in the interest of time, if you want to work faster in SolidWorks, you can go straight to the next command. In this case, without necessarily going to click on the green check mark, I can go straight and click on the smart dimension. Then this circle command will close itself automatically. See, also I can go straight on the smart dimension, click on the outer edge of the circle, then click again to place the dimension anywhere I want. So I'll place it somewhere there. Then let's give this circle a diameter of 92. Then place enter. Then I think that's it. As you can see here on the bottom right, it says fully defined. It means our circle is fully defined in this space. We have fixed our circle on the origin and have given it a diameter of 92. Okay, then I'll click on the green check mark telling SolidWorks we are done with the dimensioning, and we're also done with the sketch. So there are two ways to exit the sketch. You can click on the blue arrow over here, or you can click the one over here. You can exit the sketch. If maybe you want to discard the sketch, you do not want SolidWorks to save this sketch, then you can click on the red X over here. But if you're satisfied with your sketch, then click on the blue arrow, either the one on the top right corner or the one on the top left corner. I prefer using this one. I don't know why, maybe because I'm right-handed. If the mouse was on my left hand, maybe I could have been using this one, but do that, then extrude. We'll extrude this one with the depth of 19 mm. So go ahead and type 19 and press enter. So that's 19 mm. We're using the default blind extrude, because if you click on the drop down, then you would see that there are a few options here. So let's stick to the blind extrude. So if you're using the blind extrude, all you need to do is come here and give it the depth. That's all you need to do. Then click on the green check mark. We'll use some of these other options later on. Okay, accept the boss extrude. So we have this shape, just a solid, a cylindrical solid. If you go on your feature manager design tree, which is this area here, then click on the drop down arrow under solid bodies. You'll see that we have a single solid body here, which has been named boss extrude 1. So we started with a sketch, this sketch here, then we extruded the sketch to create this solid boss extrude 1. So right now the sketch is a child of boss extrude 1. So that's the SolidWorks technical language. Not only in SolidWorks, I think in other CAD software, you see a sketch becomes a child of another command, because you usually use a sketch to create these solid bodies. So now sketch 1 is a child of boss extrude 1. Okay, you usually click on the drop down arrow to reveal the child. Now solid body count, I'll talk more on the solid bodies later on in the tutorial. You'll see how it works, but for now we have a single solid body and it's named boss extrude 1. So let us go ahead, because I do not want this thing to be just solid as it is. I want it to be open, like some sort of container. So we'll use the shell command. When still on the features tab, go to the shell command. So our container-ish, the container shape thing, will have a thickness of 2 mm. So here, type 2, press enter. Then here you have an option of selecting the faces you want to remove. In this case, we'll remove the top face. So just make sure you are in this selection area. You can click inside the selection area just to ensure that you're inside it, because by default, let me just, for example, I go and click on this selection area. You see it changes from, it was blue, now it's white. So I'll go back inside, I'll select this face, I will accept everything as it is. Don't worry about this here. We'll only be using this, the thickness and face selection. Once I've selected the top face over here, then I'll accept everything as it is. Then you guys should see what should happen. There we go. So we have this bowl-shaped cylindrical thing with a thickness of 2 mm. This thickness over here is 2 mm, with the top face deleted. So if you wanted maybe to draw a cylinder open on both ends, you could have selected the top face and the bottom face. Then you'd have something of an open, something like an open cylinder. Okay, Once we're done with that, the next step after that is to draw where the fan would rest. There's going to be a fan, a suction fan, which will be placed somewhere on this base. So let's just go and start another sketch. I want you to select this face, then click on sketch. As I said, that's my preferred way of starting a sketch. I just select a face, then a pop-up menu comes, then I can select the sketch command from there. Or if you prefer, you can right click on that face, then the sketch command can be started from there. So sketch, okay. We'll draw a center rectangle. So you can select the center rectangle from the drop down arrow here, or you can execute the rectangle command, then come here and select the center rectangle from there, whichever works for you. So mine is already on the center rectangle. Then I will start the center rectangle from the origin. I'll click on the origin, then I'll drag my mouse out, click again to place my center rectangle. You don't have to worry about dimensions for now. I'll start the arc command. So I'll go straight, click on the arc. You have 3 ways of starting your arc. There is this one, the center point arc. Then there's this one, which is called the tangent arc. Then there is the 3-point arc, which we'll use in this case. So click on the 3-point arc over here. And the 3-point arc, it's pretty easy to use. You click on the first point, that's your first end of the arc. Click on your second point, that's the second end of the arc. Then you drag your mouse in and out, depending on the radius of the arc, depending on your desired radius. So our arc will have a radius of about 32, but we don't have to worry about that now. Let's just place the arc anywhere. Anyway, we'll see how it will look like after we define our sketches with dimensions. So that's it. I can close the arc dialog. Now I want this arc mirrored from the center over here. 2 ways to do that. I can draw a line here across the center. Okay, I'll draw a construction line. So in SolidWorks, construction lines are called center lines. You see, they're usually dotted, so they're not part of the closed profile of your shape. To extrude anything in SolidWorks, you know, it has to be a closed shape, In this case, this rectangle here is a closed shape. This arc here and this line at the bottom, they also form another closed shape. So we'll draw a center line, which will act as a mirroring line. We'll draw it across the center. So I will select the midpoint line. Use the midpoint line when I want to draw a line that's going in 2 directions. So if I start the midpoint line on the origin, you see, as I drag my mouse, it will be drawing a line going in 2 directions. This one's going to my left and to the right. So I will drag it until there, until we get to the midpoint of that vertical line over there. So I'll click, and then I'll press escape to go out of the line command. So what I can do now is I can select my arc. I'll hold the control key on my keyboard and select the line we just drew. Then I'll go on the mirror entities. Then what SolidWorks does is it mirrors my arc over there. So if I undo that a little bit, a longer way of doing it is you can first execute the mirror entities command, then it will ask you for entities to mirror. In this case, you want to mirror the arc. Then here mirror about. Okay, we want to mirror about this line over here. That's a long way, the long way of doing it. It takes a bit more time than just selecting the arc, then selecting the line using control, make sure both are selected, and then clicking on the mirror entities. That's fast. So I'll also undo to show you another trick. If I didn't want to draw this line over here, I just wanted to mirror this one, because I know I have to mirror it through my center, and as you can see, my front plane there is going through that center. So I could have selected my front plane, then selected my arc, then executed the mirror entities command. Then there we go. My arc would still have been mirrored very fast. Okay, now let's give this sketch some dimensions. So this vertical line here, it's 45 mm. This horizontal line has to be 44 mm, and you can make the arc, give it a radius of 32. Okay, so select either the arcs and let's give it a radius of 32. So now all your sketch lines are black, meaning the sketch is fully defined, as you can see over here. Always important to have your sketches fully defined. If you're still having difficulties grasping the concept of fully defining a sketch in SolidWorks, then please, you can leave me a comment. If you need help, then I can get back to you and help you out on the concept of fully defining your sketches in SolidWorks. I'll select this line and click and hold Control to select the other line too, and I'll change these lines from solid lines to construction lines. So there's a shortcut. I use the pop-up menu here. As you can see, this one, you can toggle a line from hidden to from a construction line to a solid line using that quick pop-up menu. So for example, I'll just select this line. If I go and toggle this off, then you see it's back to a solid line. If I click it again and toggle it on, then it's a construction line. So that's how I do it faster. The long way of doing it is you select on the line, then bring your mouse over here, then you can check or uncheck this option here for construction. Yeah, that's another way of doing it. But right now, let's leave it there for construction. We want this to be a construction line, because the profile I want to extrude is this one here, the outer profile. We will not be extruding this profile on its own. We want this outer profile to be extruded. Okay. The next thing we'll do is we'll extrude this profile. Right about now, we're done with the sketch. So you can click on the blue arrow over here to exit out of the sketch. But if you are satisfied with your sketch, you do not have to do two steps for you to extrude this one, like exit out of the sketch, then go on the features, then extrude base. No. While you're still on the sketch, without necessarily accepting or closing the sketch, exiting out of the sketch, you can go direct to the features tab and click on extrude. So you see, it still works in SolidWorks. It automatically gets you out of the sketch command. Yeah, these are just some tips on how you can work faster in SolidWorks. So you can skip one step of having to exit out of the sketch. You can jump in, go straight to the extrude command. So we'll be extruding by a depth of 13. There we go. Now I will do something a bit differently. I want you to uncheck this guy here, Merge Wizard. As I showed you earlier, we had a single body, a single solid body in our feature manager design tree. Here we are. We had a single solid body which was this shell command. Now, the moment I uncheck this merge result, we'll have two bodies. So whatever will be extruding now will be a separate body. It will not be joined or combined to the original body which we already had. So I want you to uncheck merge result. Then once you have entered the depth of 13 mm, you can click on the OK button here. Then there we go. Now on the solid bodies we have two. We have shell, the first one, and boss extrude. This is the body we just made. So for you to appreciate the second body, you can hide this first body. So on the solid bodies, you can right click on shell, then hide it using this eye icon. That's the one we use to hide and unhide things in SolidWorks. So I'll click on the eye icon, then voila, it's hidden. Maybe you're wondering why is this solid body named shell 1 and the other one named boss extrude 2. So the solid bodies are named after the last command you executed on the solid body. In this case, the last command we did was the shell command on this earlier body. Then this one is named boss extrude 2 because that's the last command we did on this body. Okay, it's sort of the first and the last because it's the only command we've done on this body. That's why here it's called boss extrude 2. So what we'll do with boss extrude 2 is we'll also give it a shell like we did with the first body. So I'll go on the shell command. I'll use the same thickness of 2 mm. On the faces to get rid of, I want you to get rid of the bottom face. There we go. Bottom face. Then accept it with OK. There you go. Now you have this body with a thickness of 2 mm. Okay, now let's unhide shell 1. There we go. Now we have our two solid bodies. So the next step is we want to cut out an opening from the first body to the second body we just created. So what we'll do is we'll start a sketch on this bottom face over here. Start a sketch. Then I want us to change our display style from this solid shaded with edges to the fourth one here, hidden lines visible, something like that. So sometimes you don't want to start a sketch from scratch. You just want to copy maybe sketch lines or edges from a previous sketch or previous body. So you use what we call the convert entities command. So let me show you how it works. You just, in this case, we'll select these edges, select this edge. I'm holding the control key on my keyboard. I'll hold control, select this one, and select that one. Then I'll click on convert entities. There we go. So we have created a sketch from the edges of our previous body here. So I can change back the display style to the shaded with edges, which is the default display style in SolidWorks. So just make sure you're selecting the inner edges. Don't select the outer ones, select the inner edges. Okay. Then I will use the extruded cut command. Now we'll be cutting through this body over here, the first body. So I will not use the blind option, we'll use the up to surface option. So the up to surface option, we could have used the blind option, that's okay. But I just want to show you how you can use the up to surface option. So up to surface option, it will cut this profile here up to the surface you select. In this case, we want it to cut up to this surface over here, which is the inside surface of our face body we created. So making sure you're in the face of plane, which is the surface where I want to extrude cut to go up to. Make sure you're there, then select this face. Then you can click on the green check mark. So what has happened is we have created a hole through this body over here, so that we have an opening which matches the opening of the earlier body, of the second body that we made. Now at this point we can combine the two bodies into a single body. First way of doing that is you select the first body, holding control, select the second body, right click, and you can execute the combine command. That's a quick way of doing it. A longer way, you can go on insert, go to features, then go down to combine. Then asks you to choose the bodies to combine, or choose that body and that body. So just make sure that you are on add, because there are these other two commands, subtraction and common. We'll see how they work probably later on in the tutorials, but make sure you're just combining the two bodies using the add option over here. Then click on the green check mark. Then there we go. Now under solid bodies we had two. Now we only have a single solid body. There we go. And you can see that's the opening you wanted. Okay. So we're getting somewhere now. The next thing we'll do is create vents, because the fan will be sucking air from here, from this opening we made. We need to draw or cut out a vent here. So we'll start a sketch on this face over here. Click on the sketch command. We'll draw about 4 circles, so just follow along what I'm doing. Then I'll explain how the vent feature works after we're done with this sketch. So we'll start with the circle command on the sketches. Just make sure you're not placing the circle on the origin, but slightly above the origin, somewhere there, a few millimeters above the origin. Click there, then drag out your mouse, click again. Then we'll draw the other 3 circles from the same center. So watch how the icon changes, the relation icon. If I go out and when I'm at the center of the circle, just make sure yours is the same. So I'll click there, drag out, and click somewhere. Oh, okay. I'll press escape to start again. I'll go on the circle command again. Then I'll go on the center, click, drag out, click on the center again, drag out, then one more time for the final circle, drag out. And the next thing we'll do is I can dimension the circles, so smart dimension. But before I dimension, let me make sure that this center point for our circles has a horizontal relationship with the origin. So I'll click on the center point, I'll click on the origin, then on the properties here, I have to add a vertical relation here, vertical relation. So now, as you can see, this center point is exactly above the origin. We will specify the exact distance later on when you are giving the dimensions, but just make sure you have the vertical relation between that center point and the origin. So click on the green check mark to close the dialog. Okay, now we can go in and give the dimensions. Smart dimension, we have to specify a distance between this point and the origin. The distance has to be 5 mm, like that. this first circle, the smallest circle, let's make sure it's 5 again. The second one should be 10. Then the third one should be 20. And the final one, let's give it a diameter of 30. Okay, that looks good, fully defined, but we're not done yet. I can close the dimensions dialog. Let's use splines. We use splines to sketch the ribs of our vents. Okay, click on spline. So once the spline command is active, I'll click on the center of our circles. Then I'll drag my mouse out until you get that snapping action, because we want the second point to be on that point. In this case, it's called a quadrant. Yeah. So let it be on that quadrant. You see, it's like a hex or some sort of square, sort of. Yes. Just click there to place the second point of the spline. We do not need to create a third point. So at this point, just place on the escape button on your keyboard. Then you have your spline. Then I want you to click on your spline. Once you click on it, you'll see these handles over here. They are gray sort of. So click and hold this handle over here just to pull your spline out like that. And then click and hold on this hand over here, then pull it out, something like that. Now we're going to dimension our spline handles. Okay, let's close the spline dialog. What I want you to do is click on the flank plane, then change it from hidden to shown. I want our flank plane to be visible for this. I just want to show you how we can make some dimensions using the planes as reference. So the first dimension we make is, maybe some of you have not been working with splines a lot, but these handles you see here, our spline has 2 points. We started with the first point over here, then the second point over here. So you also have 2 handles. So you have as many spline handles as the points on your spline. In this case, we had 2 points, so we have 2 handles, the first handle and the second handle. So you can use this to give your spline an angle, sort of, if you want to manipulate the angle of your spline. You see, you can see the decrease there. Then there is also this thing here. It's sort of stretches the spline outwards and inwards like that. Yes. So right now we'll dimension those. I'll go back to the smart dimension command. I'll click on the plane, which is the flank plane. Then I'll click on this handle here in the first one, the one which we use to manipulate the decrease or the angular shape of the spline. Click on it. Now we can define the angle between the spline and the front plane. Okay, let's plane the dimension this side and give it an angle of 30 degrees. So if you moved your dimension to the other side, then your angle should be 180 minus 30, which is 150 degrees. But you can place it on this side, on the right side, it should be 30 degrees. And then we'll keep dimensioning. Place on, click on the arrow here. Then let's make this. How long should this be? 20. Let's make it 20. So the other one is an angular dimension, the other one is a linear dimension. So that one is 30, that one is 20. We'll do the same for the other spline handle. Click there, click on the light plane, give it an angle of 60, and for the length, click on that and give it a length of 25. There we go. And then our spline is fully defined. So this will act as a rib. So it's too cluttered on the sketch, so I just want to hide these sketch values or the dimensions we just gave to our sketch. So I can just hide them. You can come here on the eye. I'll also hide the front plane. You can go on the front plane and hide it. If I go on the drop down on the arrow here, there is this thing. Okay, no. For the dimensions, it's this one here. So you can hide it and hide sketch dimensions. There we go. Now, I think it looks much better. The dimensions are still there, they're just hidden. If you want to turn them back on, then you can go and click there. But I'll leave them hidden for now. Okay, I'll select the spline. Then I'll come on the sketch patterns. On the drop down, I'll select the circular sketch pattern. Now our pattern is centered on the origin. See here, this point 1 here is the origin. I want it to be centered on our circles, the circles we just drew. So there is this blue arrow over here. Just click and drag it until you get to that center. So how do you know you are the center? You see there is this icon there of, it's a white icon with like 2 ellipses crossing each other. That's how you know you're at the center. Then you can release your mouse. Okay. On the instance count, there's only 4. I want 8 of these, so I can just increase the number to 8, or you can just type 8 if you want it. So you can play around with this number, and you can have 8 ribs for your vent. You can add more ribs later on. Let's see how 8 comes out. If there's a need to add more ribs, then we can do that. Okay, once we are done with that, then we can accept this. Then we can leave the sketch. There we go. So that will be the profile of our ribs. Now to finally draw the ribs, you can go on the insert menu, fastening features. You'll find the vent command. So click on the vent. So there are a few options here. I'll go through them as fast as I can. For the boundary, by default the sketch was already selected, so the boundary is the outermost circle that we drew. For the face, it's this face on which we made our sketch. Then this is the radius for the fillets. We're not making any fillets now, ignore that. Now we can select the ribs, so make sure you click on this selection area. Click, you see, once you have clicked in the selection area, it turns blue. Then we can select our ribs. This will be our first rib. There we go. Second rib, third rib, fourth rib, fifth rib, sixth, seventh, and our final rib. So right now the ribs are a bit thick, and as you can see, they're not extending to the full thickness of our body over here. So you can manipulate these numbers over here. Here it says the depth of the ribs. The depth should match the thickness of our feature, which is 2 mm. Now you see they are extending through the thickness of our feature. This here, it's just too wide, so let's turn it down from 5 to maybe 1.5. Yeah, I think 1.5 is okay. You can make it 2 if you want. Then the spars. Okay, let's activate the selection area for the spars. The spars are these circles, these 2 circles, this one and this one. Do not select the third circle. We'll select that in the final step. Just select the the two outer circles, leave the one in the middle for now, make the depth 2 again, and give them the same thickness of 1.5. Now if you wanted to select the third circle, you do it in this step in the fill-in boundary. Make this selection area active, then select this circle. Okay, there we go. Okay, we'll give it some depth of 2. Okay, maybe some of you're not able to see the effect of this. If I reduce the thickness of these leaves, then you'll see what this circle does. Okay, maybe, but anyway, you just play around with that. Change the thickness here to 1 mm for 1 mm over here. Then you'll see. But basically, the fill-in boundary is the material that holds the spurs and the ribs here across the center. It's this material. There's this material over here. Okay, I think that's our vent feature. We can close it. We can close the vent feature over here. And then voila, there you go. That's it. So that this here is the fill-in boundary. These are our ribs, and these here are the spurs. Okay, so that's how you work with the vent feature in SolidWorks. The next thing we'll do is we'll sketch it's sort of a protrusion on the base where the fan will rest. Let me just jump straight to it. I'll click on this face. We'll start another sketch. So sometimes you want to reference other sketches in SolidWorks. What you can do is you can, by default, after you're done, after a sketch becomes a child of another feature, the sketch becomes hidden. And in this case, the sketch which we used to create the vent feature is now hidden. So I want to unhide it. Okay, so if you zoom in, you can see that's the sketch. It's now visible. I will use it because I want to select that sketch. Right now I'm selecting the outermost circle of the vent feature. I will use the convert entities, the command we used earlier. There we go. Once I've done that, I can hide. Okay, I can hide that sketch. So we have created this circle from an area sketch. So select that circle, then use the offset entities. We want to offset that circle by a distance of 1 mm, like that. Those of you who use AutoCAD on a regular basis, then you know how the offset command works. It's quite similar to the way it works in AutoCAD. After you've done that, then you can exit out of the offset command. You can accept that. Now we have this profile which will extrude. You go on the extrude boss or base. Let's extrude it by okay, let's change, we're not using the up to surface, we'll use the blind extrude, and we extrude by 3 mm. Make preset has to be on. Oh, okay, let me just plug in my computer, then we can continue with the tutorial.